went to court because you wanted MPs to have scrutiny of everything that the Prime Minister negotiates and a meaningful vote on that. Now, she says there will be a vote, but why is that not enough for you?
Well, we know what a political promise means. Not very much, I'm afraid. And also, as Harold Macmillan said, 1 week in politics is long. 18 months is going to be even longer. So we don't know what will happen. And if you look at the judgment in my case, it was very clear. Only Parliament can take away rights or diminish them. And if there isn't a proper vote in both houses and debate, then that's not following our parliamentary rules. And the government would need to be in court to find out if they're allowed to do what they're going to do.
Because the concern is she comes back to the House of Commons, says, this is what I've negotiated, and all MPs get to do is to accept it or reject it. And if they reject it at the end of the process, it would be the MPs who would be saddled with the responsibility of blowing the whole deal, rather than scrutinising every little bit of that and voting on individual
I think
parts.
this Article 50 bill, it's a shame the amendments didn't go through, but it is only the first hurdle. There's a requirement for lots of legal legislation along the way and along the process. And if they're involved and they scrutinise everything along the way, then that's absolutely perfect, and that's the way our democracy should work. If they don't, then somebody somewhere is going to have to look at it and ask the courts, is the government allowed to behave the way it's behaving? And bearing in mind where I started you know, that process, now that every part of my life has been ransacked, I might as well carry on doing it.
So you're going to be the one who takes the government back to court?
Well, I will uphold the judgment in my case.
Let me ask you this, on a personal level. You've been so vilified by large sections of the media, the country, for taking the actions you have. And yet I've always looked at it slightly detached. I thought, well, all you're trying to do is apply the law of the land. I mean, there is a slight irony, isn't there, that here we are leaving the European Union because we want to be governed by our own laws, and yet you, who wants us to be applying our own laws, is now the devil incarnate to many people. How do you feel about that?
I feel that a lot of people don't understand what my case was about and haven't taken the time to read it. And actually, as you quite rightly say, it's about upholding the very things that we were fighting for, to bring back control to the UK and to the courts and to our parliament. And I think my view is the principles I was fighting for are very straightforward. And I'll carry on fighting for them. And it doesn't matter what other people's misunderstanding will be.
But the viciousness... I mean, I interviewed Nigel Farage recently at length for my Life Story show, and the viciousness he's had to endure, his family being attacked as they went to a pub, his young daughters and so on. And I did ask him, you know, in the end, was it worth it? And he just about said yes. But for you, has it been worth it, for the damage to you and family members and so on?
Well, it's been worth it to date. I can't say if my privacy and my home becomes more compromised. That would change everything for me, because to put my family in the front line of the threats and the death threats, etc., that I've received would change my outlook. Right now, I'm still in a fairly safe place, and the police have been amazing.
What's your view? Sorry.
And I was just going to, because you mentioned the death threats. I mean, nobody should have to endure death threats.
No.
How many death threats have you received?
Numerous. There've already been 12, I think, actions by the police, and there are lots more being investigated. And I absolutely agree with you. Nobody performing a duty or doing something in public life or stepping up should be subject to death threats or rape threats, or even worse, oh, my children, my family. Nobody should. And people should start speaking up about that.
Do these come online?
No, they're letters, phone calls, LinkedIn accounts where you can go and find out who the person is, personal email addresses. It's not difficult to find. It's so bold in its nature.
What do your kids make of it?
My youngest two, luckily, don't know all the details, and the eldest one has special needs, so in a way she's protected herself. But they are frightened when I go out, and I don't really go out very much or do very much.
You see, I find this it's offensive to me that the democratic process in this country, somebody just asking for clarification of applying a law, becomes such a hate figure to people simply because they don't agree with you.
But some of that has to do with the way I'm presented and the way I've been presented by certain media and certain people. So I've been presented as the devil incarnate and trying to undo their futures, etc. And I have to accept that their responsibility lies somewhere else, not just with those individuals necessarily. And they've always been an element of society that's been sort of extreme, if you like.
To those who see you, though, as the enemy, you know, who might be watching now and see you as some kind of hate figure because they blame you for everything that's happening, what do you say to them? How do you explain, how do you get it into their heads what it is that you're really fighting for?
Very simply, I would say, if you were selling your house, would you want to ask questions of, you know, if your husband, wife came home and said, I've sold your house, I'm selling your house, you'd ask, where are we going to, what sort of schools in the area, what's the security like? You'd have questions, and there'd be a process. You'd have to go to lawyers, do searches. So I was talking about that, the process and the due diligence that goes with making a big decision. That's what I was trying to defend.